So, Super Mario Maker is coming to Nintendo 3DS, and while I think it's very unlikely that any new elements will be added to the game, I think it would be fun to speculate and give you my thoughts on what I would want to see added to Super Mario Maker. But rather than cramming all of my thoughts into one video, I'm going to organize them into multiple ones. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the new video. My name is Siiroth, and today I'll be counting down the top 5 enemies I want added to Super Mario Maker. And one quick note before we begin, no boss characters will be included. I, like many others, would love to see characters like the Koopalings in Super Mario Maker, but this video is just going to be focusing on the generic enemies within the games. With that being said, let's get started. Coming in at the number 5 spot are Fuzzies. Making their debut in Super Mario World, these little guys are often found on tracks, being annoying obstacles for Mario to avoid. These guys are just a pain to get around when placed correctly, and having them available for the entire world to use in Super Mario Maker can make for some really wacky and unique scenarios for the level player to face. Unlike other enemies on this list, I completely understand why Fuzzies aren't in the game though. Because you can place almost any enemy on a track, it takes away from what makes the Fuzzies special in the Mario games. The Fuzzies were the most common enemies on tracks by far, but because other enemies can be put on tracks, it doesn't make much of a difference if they're included or not. However, there are other reasons why they should be included. First of all, it would be very natural giving them a super mushroom to make their big form, as there are already large variations of Fuzzies in the main Mario games. Second, they have been included in more and more games recently, becoming very common to see in spin-offs. You rarely see a recent Mario game without Fuzzies in them. And finally, they do have unique properties compared to other enemies, like being unable to be killed by normal methods. And combined with the fact that they are the staple track enemies, that is why Fuzzies are at number 5. Coming in at the number 4 spot are Mecha Koopas. This enemy making its debut in Super Mario World, like the Fuzzy, has been appearing in many more games recently. They are usually found on airships or in boss fights, and once stomped on, they can become a projectile that you can throw. This is a unique projectile too. They aren't just clones of the Koopa Troopas, as the projectile they create after being stomped on doesn't roll when thrown, thus being much easier to throw and take out other enemies. Those are just a couple of the reasons they should be included though. Another big one has to do with boss encounters. When fought in a clown car in Super Mario Maker, both Bowser and Bowser Jr. can throw certain objects, both bombs and Koopa shells respectively. But rather than throwing these enemies in the main Mario games, most of the time they would throw Mecha Koopas. Even when Bowser Jr. fights in Super Smash Bros., he would throw Mecha Koopas. These enemies are so prevalent that it would make perfect sense to include them as new enemies in Super Mario Maker. Coming in at number 3 are Whomps. While for the last two I've said they've gotten more common in recent years, I can't say the same for Whomps. They have appeared in several games since their debut in Super Mario 64, but in terms of main 2D Mario games, they've only appeared in the New Super Mario Bros. For DS and New Super Mario Bros. 2 games. And even in those games, they only appear in a few levels throughout. More specifically, Whomps only appear in the World 3 Castle of New Super Mario Bros. DS, and in New Super Mario Bros. 2, they only appear in the Mushroom World Castle and in Star World Level 3. Needless to say, they aren't very prevalent in the 2D games. I personally really like the enemy though. The main idea of them is they fall on their faces trying to crush Mario. Some just blend into the background, while others walk around, and they are used in some creative ways in the few levels they appear in. However, in Super Mario Maker, there would be far more possibilities for unique puzzles that, because of their minimal appearances in the 2D Mario games, never got a chance to be implemented. Also, similar to Fuzzies, it would be very simple with the mushroom upgrade, because Big Whomps are already an enemy variation in the actual Mario games. Bringing Whomps back into the 2D Mario games is what I ultimately want, and putting them in Super Mario Maker is a great start. In my opinion, they would work very well in the game. At number 2 are Charging Chucks. Now if you thought that Whomps were not very prominent characters in the Mario games, they are nothing compared to Charging Chucks. Making their debut in Super Mario World, these enemies are beloved by the Mario fanbase. Charging Chucks appear in a variety of ways in Super Mario World in terms of how they attack. Some charge directly at you, while some throw baseballs. They can't be defeated by a single stomp either, which is something that makes them even tougher to stop. A problem with Charging Chucks was that after Super Mario World, they didn't appear much in many other Mario games. at all. So few in fact that up until 2013, many people were thinking that they were a dead, or at least majorly forgotten, Mario character. However, in 2013, with the release of Super Mario 3D World, the Chargin' Chucks made their much anticipated return. And not only that, but they reappeared in Mario & Luigi Paper Jam as well. So it seems that the Chargin' Chucks are being brought back into relevancy. And while they haven't appeared in a 2D game since Super Mario World, a debut in Super Mario Maker would be the perfect time to do it. I can imagine so many unique ways that these enemies could be implemented in levels, and along with the reasons I mentioned, if there were going to be new enemies added to Super Mario Maker at all, Chargin' Chucks would definitely have to be one of them, along with the number 1 spot. And finally, at number 1, we have 3 enemies. 3 forms of an existing enemy that is already in Super Mario Maker, and those are the Fire Bro, Boomerang Bro, and Ice Bro. I was shocked when I first shook a Hammer Bro in Super Mario Maker. I thought I was doing something wrong when it didn't change form. However, when I looked it up, it turns out that the alternate Hammer Bro forms aren't in the game at all. Now, the Ice Bro I understand with there being no ice power-ups in Mario Maker, and they are the newest form of the Bro enemies, making their debut in 2009's New Super Mario Bros. Wii. However, the Fire Bros and Boomerang Bros have been around since Super Mario Bros. 3, so the mechanics are already established in more than one game type. These 2 enemies have appeared in so many Mario games throughout the years, and they are a gigantic part of the franchise, more so than any other enemy on this list. These enemies would be easy to transfer between themes as their mechanics are so simple. Despite being simple, they could definitely add to the gameplay of levels. Take for example a Freeze Bro being set behind a falling pillar, freezing you, leading to the pillar crashing down on you. It's scary just thinking about it. Or how about from a puzzle point of view, having a Fire Bro igniting bombs to destroy a wall of blocks in your way. The possibilities are endless, and that is why I want these 3 enemies in the game. Well, that's my list, and if you enjoyed, I would really recommend subscribing so you don't miss my other Super Mario Maker videos that are on the way. Be sure to leave a like if you want to support, and comment what enemy you want to be added to Super Mario Maker below. Thank you so much for watching.